Well, here we are. Joanna's in the kitchen chopping onions, peeling garlic, watching the news by the way. Deserted streets, men in hazmat suits in a city far, far away. She's got carrots and celery, a good sauce to hide veggie, Wuhan or something like that. Looking like a scene in a disaster movie she can't point to on a map. Jason puts the kettle on, it's too early for wine. He might save it for the weekend anyway. Says, what's that you're watching, love? It all looks a bit doomsday. 'Cause pandemics happen to other people, other cultures, other countries. Something about the way they live, I guess. Without trying to put it bluntly, it must be dreadful, they're not like us. I'm not sure we'd make such a fuss, it's like something you'd watch on TV. And it's spaghetti bolognese for tea. She's frying off the mince, there's a tin of tomatoes and a stock cube ready on the side. The broadcaster's voice remains calm about how many could die. And Jason's looking at his Huawei phone. If he'd opened the bowl, she'd have a glass of wine. Remember that bird flu, the panic about that at the time. 'Cause pandemics happen to other people, never here and not like that. Something about the way they live, I guess. Like some people eat dog or even cat. It must be dreadful, but they're not like us. I'm not sure we'd make such a fuss. It's like something you'd watch on TV. And it's spaghetti bolognese for tea. 'Cause that's not normal and our lives are. That's why we're watching it from afar. It's nothing to fear, it couldn't happen here. Should we eat in front of the TV? 'Cause it's spaghetti bolognese for tea. Just like that, it seemed that it was over. People flocked to the beaches and beauty spots, drank, danced and defecated under the shadow of 100 new deaths and 1,000 new cases a day. The police were called to break up raves and street parties, sparking violence inevitable after months of fear and frustration, while the blame was clearly directed at a feckless and disobedient public. In truth, the scene had been set some weeks earlier when Prime Ministerial Advisor Dominic Cummings broke the lockdown rules. First to travel to his family home in County Durham, and again with the ill-fated eye test trip to Barnard Castle. Follow that with the laissez-faire Prime Minister relaxing the rules in such a complex way that even the most diligent commentators struggled with them, and casually dismissing the daily press briefing as no longer required, inevitably leading to the public sense that the rules no longer either applied or mattered. The 2 metre rule became 1 metre plus, and you were deemed to be safe within virtual touching distance of another person, so long as you took one of 39 mitigating steps, one of which was to wash your hands more frequently. Barring gyms, swimming pools, beauty treatments and tattoo parlours, workplaces could reopen so long as they followed the government's occasionally specific and often vague COVID secure guidance. The pub trade was in chaos. Publicans divided between those with open space for their customers and those without, those with apps and table service and those struggling for solutions, and those relieved of the burden of their rent by the brewery and those with their livelihood held to ransom by a pubco. The rules had been downgraded to guidance. Belligerent libertarians, although it's doubtful they would have described themselves as such, rang radio phone-ins, demanding to know what had become of the second wave of infections predicted after the VE Day celebrations, as their hosts lambasted the teaching unions and demanded a return to school for all. But July had hardly got going before the first local lockdown kicked in. I hear they're talking about a second wave, said Jason. We haven't really got the first one out of the way. It's a good job we didn't take that trip to Spain. couldn't afford a fortnight with no pay, and they're increasing self-isolation to 10 days. Isn't a meal out pretty safe, said Joanna. A pub garden, if we all behave. Do you think that we just need to be a little bit brave? You can't live your life looking out for a second wave. But Jason ain't going to the pub today. Jason's still scrutinising what they say. Jason is certain that it's on its way. He's living life on the lookout for a second wave. Spoke to my brother the other day, said Jason. They couldn't afford for work to be locked down again. They've agreed for all of them, it's for the best, that if they get poorly they won't get a test, because they don't want to hear what a contact tracer might say. But the kids need their holidays, said Joanna. Their friends are all going their separate ways. Do you think that we just need to be a little bit brave? You can't live your life looking out for a second wave. But Jason ain't going to the pub today. Jason's still scrutinising what they say. Jason is certain that it's on its way. He's living life on the lookout for a second wave. Most excess deaths in Europe, says Jason. You've got to listen to what I've got to say. It's business they care for, that's 100% the case. And they need you to start feeling safe. But they ain't got nothing in place. The local lockdowns are far away, said Joanna. We could go out before we have to do that all again. Do you think that we just need to be a little bit brave? You can't live your life looking out for a second wave. But Jason ain't going to the pub today. Jason's still scrutinising what they say. Jason is certain that it's on its way. He's living life on the lookout for a second wave. Life on the lookout for a second wave. Life on the lookout for a second wave. Jason got the call. Who is this? And where did you get this number? He wasn't expecting this at all. Joanna's expression asked the question. Dunno, love, she shrugged. They said, sir, did you take a test? Jason said, yes. You know you've had the virus? Jason said, yes. I've still got it, I guess. A bit of a temperature, a bit of a cough. Joanna's all right, but I still feel off. Why are you calling me today? Am I okay? Sir, relax. We just need to trace your contacts. Before we do, can we ask, sir, did you self-isolate? Sorry, mate. Did you mean I'd stayed at home? Yes, 14 days, like the guidance says. Yes, I stayed at home, not alone. My wife is here, but her test was clear. Very good, sir, we're glad to hear. Before that, I went to work. Did you work from home? Well, at first, but you see, the government opened up the economy. Okay, we see. So who was at work? Well, me. My boss, Brian, Gavin and Sharon, and, sir, did you stay 2 metres away from them? Well, yes. And no, I guess. It's work, you see. It's not always that easy. Okay, we get the gist. Can you make a list of everyone you worked with then? We can get in touch with them. Well, I'm at home. I don't have everybody's numbers in my phone. I see. Tell me where you work. We'll contact them directly. Jason obliged. But his list might be slightly compromised. Joanna looked his way. Jason looked away. There's something you should probably know about me, about us. She braced for the blow. I went to work on the bus. Hey Dido, how's the track and trace going? We hear the site crashed on its very first day. And Dido, we hear that you were supposed to get the app first. Anyway, Dido, you're covering for Dom. You weren't supposed to start until Monday. Hey Dido, how's the track and trace going? We hear that your staff have had very little training after you got them in with your last minute recruitment campaigning. And Dido, you must know that public confidence is waning. Hey Dido, how's the track and trace going? We hear that you're going to be the one to blame. And Dido, who was it that came up with that awful name? You must know that most people fail at the whack-a-mole game. Hey Dido, how's the track and trace going? Is it true that you have no medical expertise? But Dido, you were CEO of a telecoms company. Dido, is it true that you're married to a Tory MP? We're going to talk a bit about testing and tracing, and we're going to talk quite a lot about masks. It won't surprise you to find out. Thanks for coming, by the way. Make sure you dig deep and stick a few quid in for Compass Children's Charity. The link is in the event, the link in some of the descriptions we put up previously. But no one trusts Dido Harding and her little contact tracing scheme, because we know that it was supposed to have an app, and it's not going to work without an app. And we know that there are people sitting around who are supposed to be making phone calls who aren't even being given the phone calls to make. But it's not like Dido Harding is the only one we don't trust. Yes, you can't trust Bozo, Squash, Sombrero. You can't trust Matt with an app. You can't trust Dominic to take a lead, or any of the three with your PPE. No, you can't trust Bozo, Squash, Sombrero. You can't trust Matt with an app. You can't trust Jacob not to take a nap, or any of that world-beating crap. No, you can't trust anything they do or say. I never trusted Tories anyway. No, you can't trust Bozo, Squash, Sombrero. You can't trust Matt with an app. You can't trust Dominic with an eye test. You can't trust Pretty in the slightest. No, you can't trust Bozo, Squash, Sombrero. You can't trust Matt with an app. You can't trust Rishi with the dinero, or any of that world-beating crap. You can't trust anything they do or say. I never trusted Tories anyway. Ideology or incompetence, you choose whichever way your coin toss lands. Its heads they win and tails you lose. No, you can't trust Bozo, Squash, Sombrero. You can't trust Matt with an app. You can't trust Michael with anything vital or any of that world beating crap. No, you can't trust Bozo, Squash, Sombrero. You can't trust Matt with an app. You can't trust Gavin with your schools. You just can't trust this cabinet of fools. You can't trust anything they do or say. I never trusted Tories anyway. No, you can't trust Bozo, Squash, Sombrero. You can't trust Matt with an app. You can't trust Grant. You just can't. And none of that world beating crap. You can't trust Bozo, Squash, Sombrero. You can't trust Matt with an app. You can't trust Michael with anything vital or any of that world beating crap. No, you can't trust anything they do or say. I never trusted Tories anyway. Cheers. Thanks for coming. So let's talk about masks. The wearing of by those people who care about other people, and the not wearing of, and the campaigning to not wear of by people who don't care about other people. And the Venn diagram that puts them in with some of the other groups of people we don't like very much. But first, a question. Zorro, the Lone Ranger, Phantom of the Opera, Darth Vader, Batman, but Batgirls is better, Wolverine, V for Vendetta, Optimus Prime and Leatherface, Stanley Ipkiss is his pretty ace. Should I be wearing a mask? Zorro, the Lone Ranger, Phantom of the Opera, Darth Vader, Batman, but Batgirls is better, Wolverine, V for Vendetta, Optimus Prime and Leatherface, Stanley Ipkiss is his pretty ace. Should I be wearing a mask? They're Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Raphael's red, Donatello's is purple, Leonardo, Michelangelo, the Green Hornet and Kato too, Mexican wrestler, Wonder Woman, Spider-Man could but Peter Parker couldn't. Should I be wearing a mask? Zorro, the Lone Ranger, Phantom of the Opera, Darth Vader, Batman, but Batgirls is better, Wolverine, V for Vendetta, Optimus Prime and Leatherface, Stanley Ipkiss is his pretty ace. Should I be wearing a mask? They're Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Raphael's red, Donatello's is purple, Leonardo, Michelangelo, the Green Hornet and Kato too, Mexican wrestlers, Wonder Woman, Spider-Man could but Peter Parker couldn't. Should I be wearing a mask? Catwoman, Doctor Doom, Hannibal Lecter, Ghostface 2, Philippa Gascony, the Jigsaw Killer, but not Michael Jackson. In Thriller, Captain America, The Flash, and Highwaymen wore theirs for cash. Should I be wearing a mask? Should I be wearing a mask? Should I be wearing a mask? We asked in March and April, May and June. Are we immune? So why in July are we told, of course, it's a matter we intend to enforce? You should wear a mask when you sally forth, but not until the 24th. Now, before Before we talk more about masks, let's talk about the type of person who's going to decide not to wear one. No medical exemption, but just because they don't want to. Derek thinks that the lockdown's over. Derek says get on with recovery. Derek's got the phone in on the blower. Derek won't buy anything Chinese. And Derek thinks coming should have got the sack. Derek voted to take control back. And Derek has faith in the British public. And Derek doesn't know anyone that's been sick. Guess Derek doesn't get it though he sometimes might. Derek's mostly wrong but occasionally right. He's casually racist, not politically correct. Derek still had a vote last time I checked. And Derek is a fan of strong leadership. Derek now thinks that Johnson will fail if he supports an advisor who's a liar, which is welcoming Clacton as a beach trail. Cause Derek doesn't get it though he sometimes might. Derek's mostly wrong but occasionally right. He's casually racist, not politically correct. Derek still had a vote last time I checked. Says if the virus don't get it, something else will. As he rolls another fake Rosenberger on the grill. Derek says the risks are overrated, but he'll follow the rules that are being promulgated. And he's a regular caller to the Farage show from the confines of his seaside bungalow. Nigel says it and Derek agrees, and Derek won't buy anything Chinese. Cause Derek doesn't get it though he sometimes might. Derek's mostly wrong but occasionally right. He's casually racist, not politically correct. Derek still had a vote last time I checked. 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 It's unconstitutional, Derek proclaims, with absolute authority. It's an attack on my civil liberties. This isn't why the majority voted for Boris. It's an outrage. It's halfway to wearing a burqa. I'm not putting my face in a fabric cage like a nurse or a care home worker. What are you, scared of a little flu? Your argument's full of ifs and buts. It ain't much longer than since a week or two since Johnson told you to have the guts to get back to normal. And normal it ain't to be ordered to cover your face. And that's the basis of my complaint. We never needed them in the first place. It's not supported by the science. You're wrong. It's a monstrous imposition. And I tell you what, it won't be long until they're back with another condition, because it's an exercise in mind control. Manipulating the sheeple with a very simple goal, to sleepwalk you into the unspeakable. It's a free country, and I should be free to allow my patriotic face to be seen. We didn't win 2 World Wars and 1 World Cup. And anyway, it's a bit uncomfortable and it makes my glasses steam up. We've all met a Derek or two on the tube recently. It's sad to say. A masked man walks into a bar. Just another day in the new Rose and Crown. It's the pub of the damned. He orders a beer and sits down. He contemplates life and all the new rules, where everyone's encouraged to go back to work and go back to school, where 1 metre plus means you have to cover your face. That's how he's ended up coming in masked to this place. Looks from his beer to his mask, from his mask to his beer, as it all becomes frustratingly clear that the logic of this thing just doesn't make any sense at all. A masked man walks into a bar. It's neat, neat, neat from all that pre-opening cleaning. It's the pub of the damned, just with better housekeeping. He orders a pint of beer and sits down while he ponders on the end of the lockdown. He asks himself, where's a pub if it's not a shop that sells live booze? And if you're going to have to wear a mask in a supermarket, what's a boozer got to lose? He looks from his beer to his mask, and from his mask to his beer, as Johnson's muddied message fails to become clear, and the logic of this thing just doesn't make any sense at all. A masked man walks into a bar, orders a large whiskey while he's waiting for the blackout. There's plenty of room inside and not that many people out. It's the pub of the damned and he just can't be happy again. And they wouldn't even take his cash when he tried to pay. He picks up his paper and he reads in the comments that your mask does nothing except to give you confidence. He looks from his whiskey to his mask, from his mask to his whiskey. And there's a world of handshakes that he still can't see. And the logic of this thing just doesn't make any sense at all. A masked man walks into a bar. We're on the 0714. Doing all right, it's fairly quiet, and mask wearing is mostly observed. Although the fella in the coffee kiosk is wearing his on his chin, while speaking to a single customer who's going to have a dilemma when he gets on the train, having been served. One man is putting his on as he gets on board, leaving it until the last minute to be suitably attired. You suspect that he doesn't want to wear it a moment longer than required. The next stop is Walthamstow Central and onto the Victoria line. Man opposite and across one has got a black mask on, which looks fine, but his nose is poking out, presumably stopping his glasses steaming up while he does the crossword. Taking his time between the clues, one of which is his bag for life, which seems to be living up to its name. A quick glance down the carriage reveals two more noses on display. On the seat next to me is the bag that belongs to the woman sat in the next seat, but one, from which she produces a standard issue blue non-surgical face mask. You know the one, which she hooks over her ears, covering her nose and her mouth in one go, then flaps out the sides trying to get the air to flow, then pulls it down past her nose, then down past her chin. Now nose and mouth comfortably exposed, she relaxes and shuts her eyes. Civic duty done and undone in one 2-minute pantomime. The gaze of the woman 2 seats further down remains neutral. Her mask is worn impeccably, and you know she's seen it all, and you can sense her disapproval. Gap Year kid opposite is wearing his properly too, his grubby surf chic suggesting that his bulging rucksack contains laundry going back a week, or maybe 2. Whereas snood neck tube guy's face covering has slipped past his nose unchecked. By the time he takes the seat vacated by Gap Year kid, it's completely round his neck. He evades my stare by deploying his mobile phone. He's not alone. Cool fella in the straight-brimmed baseball cap is another nose exposer, soon to be a mouth and noser. If he thinks the risks aren't worthy, why does he reposition from the standing seat at the end of the carriage to the pole in the middle by the double doors as the train fills up on its southbound journey? Although it's nowhere near as busy as a pre-lockdown ride would have been. The return trip will include more who comply, part comply, or let the rules simply pass them by. And a man who will be determined to be the first off the Chingford train. Although there seems to be little for him to gain, he'll be first to the hand sanitizer too. But then he won't want to touch the door control button, and so will make an awkward attempt with the tip of his elbow. But the next stop is Oxford Circus, and we've got business above ground. Well, we're going to go back in time just a little bit. But before we do, I've been reading about rats. Something a friend shared on Facebook a few days ago. Smart creatures, rats, often experimented on. In another life, I was in the rat business. But people hate them, people are scared of them. Ooh, rats. But when you get to know, or you study rats, you realise quite how bright they are. But the other thing about rats is how compassionate they are and how much they care for other rats. Now, when you do experiments on rats, one of the experiments they did with rats is they gave a rat a choice between pressing one lever and having a treat, or pressing another lever and rescuing a rat that was in peril. Sometimes they were drowning, sometimes they were trapped in a tube and couldn't move, or what have you. And on the majority of occasions, what the rat did is it elected to save the other rat and then shared the treat with the other rat. What do human beings do in similar situations? Well, he's got himself to the front of the queue. He's got himself a touch of the flu. He's emptying shelves in aisle number 2. He's a bog-roll millionaire. He's got a long life milk and sanitizer, all of the Stella, most of the cider. He's got no time for a government lunch. He's a bog-roll billionaire. 'Cause a bog-roll billionaire's gonna be okay. The bog-roll billionaire doesn't care much for other folks anyway. He says, Jeremy, begin to know in my ex-council house when I'm on the throne. I'm a bog-roll billionaire. He's got a ton of pasta, a ton of rice. He's got sauces and jars. That ain't very nice. He can't let you earn one twice the price. He's a bog-roll billionaire. He's got frozen cod, he's got frozen plates. He's got 3 sacks of dots just in case. You know he's parked in any safe on the front. He's a bog-roll billionaire. And the bog-roll billionaire's gonna be okay. The bog-roll billionaire, you can get much for other folks anyway. He says, charity, begin to know in my ex-council house when I'm on the throne. I'm a bog-roll billionaire. He's a bog-roll billionaire. Yes, I know. Some of you are trying to convince me that actually people are, by nature, good. And I generally agree with you. But there are still far too many bog-roll billionaires out there. But anyway, let's get back up to date and let's talk about having a meal out, so long as it's on a Monday, Tuesday or Wednesday in August. I'm heading off down the mount, I'm checking my bank account, I'm going for a meal out with my COVID discount. Richie said 30 days in August, a discount of up to a tenner a head. But if you want to redeem yours, you must sit in when you break your bread. So I'm heading off down the mount, I'm heading for a drink account, I'm going for a meal out with my COVID happen to quite enough of the herd to get your best togs and get your slap on and get those aerosol drops transferred. So I'm heading off down the mount, I'm checking my bank account, I'm going for a meal out with my COVID discount. Rich said eat out to help out, check your local restaurant out, got to get yourselves out and about, right economic roundabout, cause I'm heading off down the mount, I'm checking my bank account, I'm going for a meal out with my COVID discount, with my COVID discount, COVID discount, with my COVID discount. But also telling us to get out there and eat out, to restart some economic activity. The counter message, because this is a government that creates confusion wherever it goes. So on the one hand, go out there and eat, here's some money off, get out, convince yourself it's not as dangerous as all that, just get some money moving in the economy. But whilst you're going out and eating out, by the way, we also want you to lose weight to fight COVID. So Boris Johnson has dropped a few pounds, so now he's telling everybody else to do the same. Some kind of mop-top Weight Watchers hero. No ads for Mackie D's before bedtime. No bother from Pringles or Mars bars already at that. But that's not even this evening's headline. Whatever you do, don't cough over your cat. Cause fat is going down, fat shaming the nation, clamping down on promotion of food, high sugar and fats, obligatory labels for cafes in new legislation. And whatever you do, don't cough over your cat. He says we owe it to the NHS to keep our weight healthy. I suspect he owes them a bit more than that. Start with 350 million a week maybe. And please, don't cough over your cat. There are complex ethnic and socio-economic factors at play here, but despite all of that, a fight against the virus starts with a new chapter, with advice to not cough over your cat. So please, don't cough over your cat. But we're in the world now of the local lockdown. Whatever the strengths and weaknesses of the government's strategy so far, and the death toll will tell you that there's been an awful lot of weaknesses. Without the app, with inconsistent contact tracing, the only way forward is the local lockdown. Because they've got nothing else in their locker. And if that doesn't work, when the winter flu comes in, all hell is liable to break loose. But as it stands, where they've stopped listening to Sage and they've stopped listening to us and they've stopped having the briefings and they've stopped taking questions, this is what they've got left. And Leicester was the first, but then there was can we place the north somewhere on a map? Local lockdowns around Greater Manchester and Blackburn and you know the rest, where Westminster-based politicians, Westminster-based journalists, everything above Watford apparently was locked down. Go back to your northern powerhouse homes, unless you're going to the pub, which you should visit alone, or work which you must not shirk. No visiting family or friends, unless, we guess, you work with them. But we say again, no socialising in houses or gardens, no ifs or buts or beg your pardons. But if you're one of the shielding folk, your rights to help have been revoked. And you should come out Your race is run. Just try not to come into contact with anyone. Because Hancock, a politician at home with confusion and contradiction, accuses you of a lack of compliance with his social distancing guidance and has identified some high-risk zones. So go back to your northern powerhouse homes. It's hard, really hard, not to be all doom and gloom during the pandemic. The more you read, the more you understand, the more you work out just how poor this particular government is. But I can't leave you on a low note, so I'm going to leave you with something to look forward to. It's definitely something that I'm looking forward to, and you can all come with me when we do it. Don't teach history, they tell you more about the folk that erected them, a twisted sense of victory, limited love for those that elected them. When Edward Colston got ordered to the Occupy, Black Lives Matter demo, to be fair, that's history in the making. There's history being made right there. So when all this is over, we're mourning our family and friends. We're gonna build a statue of Boris Johnson and chuck it straight in the Thames. 'Cause he follows the science, but only when the science tells him what he wants to hear. Like someone took the Black Lives Report, made several sections disappear. But what would you expect from Piccaninny's Johnson? Elevated to the top job, then coming over all bewildered schoolboy, surprised by the virus and the rainbow. So when all this is over, we're mourning our family and friends. We're gonna build a statue of Boris Johnson and chuck it straight in the Thames. Casting on his watch, but no justice for Grenfell 3 years on. Clad he's not gone and a number of deaths. COVID-19 should be an embarrassment to anyone. 22 days of dither and delay. He says he's proud of his children robbing. What's the strategy now, Mr. Johnson? He says you should all look forward to going shopping. So when all this is over, we're mourning our family and friends. We're gonna build a statue of Boris Johnson and chuck it straight in the Thames. Yeah, when all this is over, we're mourning our family and friends. We're gonna build a statue of Boris Johnson and chuck it straight in the Thames. Thank you very much. Thanks all for coming. Cheers. See you all soon, hopefully. Long live Punk for the Homeless. Dig deep for Compass Children's Charities. And I'll see you all soon.